It's very powerful.
Another thing about Guinan being a Time Lord is that, she's been around for a long time and that she met Picard back in, like, the ancient West kind of
Yes.
a time period. You know.
Hmm.
So maybe, yeah, maybe she's just ran out of regenerations.
Maybe. Or, yeah, maybe this is her last regeneration.
All right, so Guinan goes back to 10 Forward, and where we have seen Tasha and Richard, where we find out his name is Richard, they were, talking shop and everything, and Guinan asks if they'd been waited on, and Tasha says no, and she asks for their rations. And once Guinan walks away, she comments on how Guinan's been looking at her kind of funny, and she doesn't really know why. She's like, we've known her for a long time. I don't know what's going on. So they talk about some more advances in technology, and then he's like, we don't have to be so formal. What, she called you Tasha, right? And she's just like, yeah. And he's like, well, most people call me Castillo, and she's just like, okay, Castillo, kind of like, all right, or whatever. And he goes, but my mother calls me Richard. And then he's like, I think I'd feel better if you called me Richard. And then there's like flirty eyes and everything, and the senior officers get called to Picard's ready room before they can get their space food. I know they're still using like replicators for rations or whatever, but I just was imagining like they're getting like that freeze dried ice cream and stuff.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Or those cubes that they used to serve it on the original series.
Yes, something like that. So they go away, and as they're walking out, Tasha looks back up at Guinan, their eyes sort of meet, and she's kind of like worried look, like what's going on, and then Guinan like looks away, and she's also kind of worried because she knows what's going on. She knows that Tasha's supposed to be dead, just like the rest of us. In the ready room, Picard tells his senior officers that they'll send the Enterprise C back to where it came from, and as I was putting that in my notes, it was made me think of Monsters Inc. when it's like, put that thing back where it came from, or so help me, It's like he's gonna start. Picard's
Yes.
gonna do that little song and dance, and they're kind of worried because it's like, hey, these are. It's 125 people. Hey, they could help us. All this kind of thing, and. Riker goes to give his 2 cents. He's like, well, in my opinion, kind of thing, and
Gets cut off right there. Boom.
He's like,
Yeah.
I'm well aware of your opinion.
Yeah, I'm aware of your opinion. This is a briefing. I'm not seeking your consent. Shut up.
Yes, he's like,
oh man,
he's like, I'm not asking for anything. I am telling you, like this is orders. Listen here.
But I do like the beginning of the scene. You get the picture behind Picard of him, with his finger. He's just, you could see with the stress. You could see, he's going to be making this announcement, but he's not 100% that this is the right thing to do, and he knows what everybody's going to think about this.
Data tries to, I guess, help people see that the death of these people might not be so bad, because if the Klingons realize that they are helping them and that they die helping them, whether they actually get to save the outpost or not, that's like an honorable death, because, die in war and all that kind of thing. And, so that might be the difference that they need to not even go into war and to go ahead and sign the peace treaty. And that's also where he mentions the thing about Guinan. So all the officers leave. Picard dismisses them because he's just like, I was just telling you what you were going to do. Get out of here. And Tasha starts to follow everybody else, and then she kind of stops and is thinking, and then she turns around and gets on the elevator with Data, and she's very distracted, and he's like, from the look on your face, I believe you're preoccupied with something unpleasant. And then she says she's thinking, and then she basically tells him that she likes Richard. She doesn't say it in so many words, and that she's worried about what will happen to him when all of this goes down. And Data, of course, reassures her by saying, yeah, we probably won't even know any of this happened.
Thanks for that.
So then on the Enterprise C, we see Tasha helping Richard check off the list. You know, the phasers are like this, the shields are this, and the warp speed and everything. Picard is talking to Garrett about going back, and he said, you know, like, basically he trusts Guinan. He's like, you can meet her if you want, if that'll make you feel better. And she explains how some of her crew kind of wanted to go back because some don't want to not be without their families, because apparently all their families died already too. Died young. And some of them, you know,
everyone's dead everywhere.
I don't know, maybe because the ship is broken and doesn't have very good warp speed. By the time they got back to Earth, it would be like 20 more years? I don't know. Anyway, she tells him that she's okay with staying and helping if that's what they need and all that kind of thing. And he confides in her that the war's going pretty bad, and one more ship is not going to really help because they're probably going to surrender in the next 6 months. So, yeah. Like, oh. And I like that he got a little quiet, you know, because he was telling her a secret. I was like, that's pretty good, because sometimes on shows people still talk at their regular volume.
Yeah, like that guy can obviously hear what you're saying.
Right.
Exactly.
No,
but this is a great scene. Whereas, you know, the people on Enterprise D, they know the war is going bad. They don't know it's going that bad, and you know, obviously it's captain's job to try and keep morale up and everything, and basically says we're a lost cause. Mm-hmm. You know, so
yeah, and he even kind of tells her that the possibility of if they go back, you know, that it could be the thing that changes the war. Somewhere along the lines, she goes with that plan. She's like, "Hey, Dickie, tell everybody we're gonna go back,
Awesome.
Back to the future, or the past. I mean." Just needed to call him Dickie once. I'm sorry. Picard leaves. Tasha's like, I'm going to stay here for a second, you know, no big deal. She talks to Richard, and she's like, you know, she Tasha-splains to him. I said Picard-splains on one episode of Picard, and so now she's Tasha-splaining all of the stuff to him, and she's like, well, oh no, sorry, you'll do great, you can do it, yeah, I know you. And so I thought that was great, because usually it's, you know, the guy telling the girl that kind of stuff. Then they get hit by, like, a torpedo or something, and so everybody runs to their stations. They get hit a few more times, and Garrett gets killed by some flying debris.
If I was to go back and to be in that time period, I would invent the non-exploding consoles, because that seems to be the highest cause of death on starships.
Right? Like shouldn't they have things that aren't as flammable? Because there's a lot of fires and stuff, and
yeah,
combustible. Like surely, can't you have something that'll just melt itself, or something, or it just not explode?
Yes, the exploding console is awful in Star Trek.
There's also like falling debris that looks like boulders.
Yeah,
in a lot of Star Trek. So maybe they should stop building their starships out of rocks.
Yeah,
why don't they use like drop ceiling tiles? Because if those fall, they won't hurt anybody. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, but the floor above it is still going to break off and fall through those ceiling tiles.
Hold on a minute, but if you really think about it, how the starship is designed, the bridge is in the very worst spot. It's like in the most exposed. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for it to be all the way up top. and easily destroyed when you like the battle bridge is actually where the real bridge should be, in the middle of the ship, protected, so in case the shields go out. But what do I know?
You tell him, Joe.
I'm just saying.
They had this whole thing with this fight, and then I guess it's calmed down, so we see Richard entering Picard's ready room, and Picard, he tells Picard, he's like, I'm ready to take this ship, I'm the, senior person left, and all that kind of thing. Riker's all like, oh, but he's the last surviving senior officer, and it wasn't meant to fly without the captain, and you only have this much and that, like
he's like surely the Enterprise wasn't meant to go into battle without her captain, and he's like, well, I can't answer that, and don't call me Shirley.
Yeah. But yeah, like he's like listing off all of these things. Riker, you wanted this ship to stay here and help fight. It's like, if they're shooting at you now, they're not gonna make it anywhere to get fixed. So who cares if they go back in time or not? Because they can't help you in the shape they're in, and it looks like you're not gonna get to go anywhere and drag and tow them anywhere or whatever you're gonna do so that they could get like fully functional. So just shut your trap. Like, he's so mouthy. Anyway, but Richard says that he's good people and they want to do their jobs and they want to help and all this kind of thing, and that Garrett would want him to do this, so that's what he's going to do, unless Picard orders him to do something different. And then Picard's like, okay, fine. Picard asks how much damage the ship took, and then gives him more time to prepare, to try to repair and everything. And Richard replies that it was moderate, but Garrett ended up with some shrapnel in her forehead that looked like it was like a small saw blade or something. Like it had like almost perfect little teeth notched in.
It's when they built the Enterprise, the carpenter left the saw blade accidentally, and when the thing exploded, it went right into her forehead.
Yes.
I knew they should not have built the machine shop directly above the bridge. This was clearly a design flaw in the Enterprise C.
Bob, you done building that console? Yeah, let's go lunchtime. Just leave that stuff in there. Just
we'll come back and get it later.
Right.
Oh man. So Tasha escorts Richard to the transporter room, and they say goodbye again, and they kiss, and he beams away, and his still living wife is standing there going, "What just happened?" I just had to bring it back to that.
The other line is, she's like, "I wish we had more time." He's like, "I think we have all the time that we can handle." Ba-dum boom. I mean, like, come on.
Oh God. Anyway, so Tasha goes to see Guinan. She's like, "Why are you looking at me funny? Like, what's up?" And Guinan's like, "We're not supposed to know each other."
What you looking at, Guinan?
Right?
What you looking at?
She's like, "Listen, we are supposed to know each other. You're supposed to be dead." D-E-D, dead. And so then, Tasha starts interrogating her about it, and Guinan says she doesn't know how or whatever, but she knows that it was a death without purpose. And I was thinking this might be a little bit of a poke at some of the writing from before, where, she just didn't have much purpose most of the time.
100%. That's a good one, yeah.
And of course her death didn't have much purpose either. It's like, we were gonna see her fight in this awesome, like, championship thing, and then she has to die. It was gonna be so great, because she was gonna be awesome.
Mm.
Why did they have to... I always go back to this, because why did they have to set her up to actually do something awesome right before they killed her off? Like, that's not fair. We've been waiting a whole season for her to do something cool.
I know, believe me. Did you guys ever see the documentary Chaos on the Bridge?
No.
Okay, I believe it's still on Netflix. If not, it might be on Amazon Prime. Chaos on the Bridge, they